and welcome to Living Linkie Style. My name is Linkie Marais, and I have today in my kitchen one of my very dear friends, Sandy. How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you excited to be here?
I'm very excited.
Well, I'm excited too because it's apple season. It is so time for apple season, for apple picking. Have you been apple picking?
I have.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it fun?
I've gone with the kids this year. It's a great time.
It's a great time. Well, perfect. Well, since it's apple time and since you have bundles and caboodles of apples, I'm going to show you a few quick, easy recipes today that will make your apple season perfect. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you to do a spiced apple cider. I'm also going to show you how to do these great little cheesecakes with some caramelized apples on top. I'm going to show you how to do apple dumplings, and I'm also going to show you how to do a caramel apple crostata. Are you ready for that? That's a mouthful.
I love that. That will be delicious.
All right, so I'm going to get you started on peeling apples, and here's a little junk bowl, and I'm going to actually move you over here. Is that okay? So if you can just go ahead and peel the apples, maybe peel 3 of them.
Okay.
And I usually twist the little stems off. It makes it easier. All right, so she's going to go ahead and start doing that while I'm mixing up the cheesecake. Or before I do that, let me get my spiced apple cider going. So we are going to do, Sandy, I'm just going to move around here for a second.
Okay.
All right, so I buy great little apple cider, and I pour probably about 2 cups of that into a bowl. And then we're going to add some brown sugar, but literally just a teaspoon, because remember, it's already sweet. About a teaspoon of brown sugar. You guys know me by now. I love my brown sugar. And then we're also going to add some cinnamon, some nutmeg, and some cloves. And you can kind of go at this if you have a mouth that loves spice more, go ahead and add more of whatever. I like a little bit of spice to it, so I'm going to add a little bit more cloves. But remember, cloves can make it a little bit bitter, so just be careful. And you can also add a little bit of ginger. And we're going to turn that on medium-high, and we're going to let that sit for a little bit. Something else I like to add to it, and the ginger, a little bit of ginger, and we're going to add 2 sticks of cinnamon. And we're just going to let that hang out. How's the apple picking going? Okay, now I'm going to move you back over here. Okay, so now we're going to start mixing our cheesecake. I am going to use 2 packages of 8 ounces of cream cheese. And now remember, we're not going to make full cheesecake, so I'm not going to make a full recipe. So I'm basically halving my original recipe. Some cream cheese. I love cheesecake. Do you like cheesecake?
I love any kind of cheesecake.
You like anything kind of sweet, don't you?
I do. I have a sweet tooth.
So tell me about the apple picking.
We went to Neshoba Valley, and they have a winery there, so that's why I picked that place.
Yeah?
Yeah, we picked some apples. Yeah, you can see on their website what apples they're picking that day. And
Really?
yeah, it's
I'm gonna have to do
very
that.
nice.
Okay, so I have the wrong sugar here. Never mind. In the cheesecake, we're going to cream our 8 ounces of cream cheese, and we're going to add about a half a cup of sugar, and we're going to let that cream. And remember, as you make cheesecake, that you always want to scrape the sides as you go. Alrighty, so we've got that, and we're also going to add a hint of cinnamon. You are going to town on those.
I'll be done by tomorrow.
Some cloves. You'll be done by tomorrow. You're luckily I'll make you not peel the whole bowl.
I know, I'd be here all day.
All right, some nutmeg and some ginger and a hint of salt, a little pinch of salt. And something I like to add to my cheesecake is just a hint of sweetened condensed milk. You guys know in South Africa, my sisters and I always fought over who's going to eat out the sweetened condensed milk, like who's going to finish the can. Well, today it's going to be me and you. All right, so you want to beat that up, and then what you're going to do is you're going to add just a tad, maybe a couple of tablespoons of the sweetened condensed milk. If you like a little bit more of a tart cheesecake, you can add sour cream. And then once that's all beaten up, we're going to add 1.5 tablespoons of flour. And then you're gonna add your eggs one at a time. And we're gonna add 2 eggs. Now, generally what I do when I add my eggs is I break it into a separate bowl and then I add it. That way, if you do have any, what do you call this? What do you call this? The skins?
Shell.
The shell. Shell, thank you. There we go. See, I knew I had you here for a reason.
Yeah, I knew that.
If you have any shell, then it doesn't end up in your cheesecake mixture. You know, sometimes with the 2 languages going through my head, because I do speak Afrikaans. Did you know that?
The other people.
Yes. The other people go, well, why can't she think of that? Well, I have 2 languages going through. Okay, so there we go. Uh-oh. And we're going to scrape our sides, and then we're going to mix it up again. And while this is mixing, we are going to, I'm going to get you to chop in on those.
Okay.
And we're going to let that mix for just a little bit longer. I think you're flinging apple over here.
This is like a bad Halloween movie. Look at this apple. It's a massacre.
It's a massacre. Okay, so we've got that. And before Sandy flings me with more apples, I'm going to melt some butter. Here, I'm going to move you this side for a second. And I'm melting about half a stick of butter. And this is going to be for our graham cracker crumb crust. And I'll get that on 25 seconds. And at this point, I kind of want to just give my apple cider a quick little stir and make sure all those flavors are involved and marinating together. There we go. And then, Sam, what I want you to do is actually, you know what, I'll chop these up because I'm going to get you started on this.
Okay.
What we're going to do, move this way. There we go. What we're going to do is we're going to make, like I said, little mini cupcakes. So we're going to get these in there. You can go ahead and do that. And that can go another second. And so then we're going to use our graham cracker crumbs. If you like to add a bit of chocolate flavor, you can also add chocolate graham cracker crumbs. But you're going to add about a cup or so graham cracker crumbs. And you're also going to add some, you just like do a sprinkle of sugar in there.
Sure.
And then your melted butter. There we go. And get that out of the way. And then a hint of cinnamon. Or a lot. I love cinnamon.
I love the smell.
I love it. Especially this time of the year when like there's ciders and apple sauces. Do you make applesauce?
I do, all the time. I never buy it. I only make it.
Really?
It's so easy.
I would like to try some. Applesauce is a very American thing to me, so it's something I don't usually do. I do apple chutneys, is what I usually do.
Applesauce and pork.
Yeah.
Always
yeah.
have that, yep.
I do apple chutney and pork. So. All right, so you've got your graham cracker crumbs, your butter, and your sugar. And what we're going to do is we're just going to gently fill the little cups, and you can just add like just a little drizzle, and we're going to pack them down. Just pack them down. And you don't have to worry about packing them down too tightly because it is in a little cupcake shell. So just like that.
Okay.
You'll go to town on that. I'll get my hands washed. And then I'm going to start chopping up these apples so that we can make the topping for this. So can I move you over here,
Sure.
Sand? Let's move this mixture out of the way. No, you can stay on this.
Okay.
I'm going to move over here. I keep moving you around. You're like,
That's okay.
like you were playing musical kitchen.
Keeps me active.
I'll set that right there. Okay, so the apples, for the little caramel sauce that goes on top, we're just going to slice them. And you can core them. Get rid of that little middle center thing. You can be glad I didn't make you do all this.
I would have been here too long. I know. I do like the knives.
Thank you. Okay, so you just want to kind of roughly chop your apple, and I usually just start out chopping little pieces like this. Move those out of the way. And I'll give you a quick little tip that a lot of people don't know. Sometimes when you're slicing apples and it starts browning, a lot of people use lemon juice to keep them from browning. You probably use lemon juice. I use pineapple juice because the lemon juice makes it so tart. The pineapple juice just adds sweetness to it. I don't know, what do you
I
use?
think I'd like that flavor. I usually just hurry up and cook it for the family and they don't realize it was
You're like,
brown.
I don't worry about keeping it.
I'd like to try to keep it not from browning, but I'm going to try that, though.
All right, so there we go. Okay, so basically what you want to do is you want to just grab a little spoonful and fill it. And you can fill it kind of generously. You can fill it kind of to the top because it's going to rise a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like that.
All right.
And just leave a little bit of room.
Okay.
Okay. And while you're doing this, I am going to turn off my spiced cider. Do you smell that?
Oh, I love that.
Oh my gosh, it smells delicious. Okay, so we've got that going. And what we're going to do now is we're going to caramelize our apples for the cheesecake. So I've chopped up some apples, and you're going to just get that in a pan. And you can add a little bit of butter if you would like. You know me, Sandy, I love butter.
You do.
I think I like it more.
Butter is good.
I eat bread so that I can eat butter.
Fresh out of the oven breads.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of brown sugar. Maybe about 2 tablespoons. And a little bit for love. There we go. A little bit more for love. Okay. And then what I like to do is I like to just hit it with this little bit of brandy. It's going to help that caramelize just a little bit more. Just a little bit. Don't go to town on it.
Sandy likes brandy.
We're going to get that later. Some cinnamon, some nutmeg. I will say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
It is.
Some nutmeg, some cloves, and some ginger. There we go. And we'll just let that hang out for a second. And while that's hanging out, I'm going to show you how to do the caramel apple crostata. Now, a lot of you guys don't know this, but if you take sweetened condensed milk and you peel the wrapping off of it and you boil it under water for 3 hours, then it turns into caramel. But
That's incredible.
it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
But you can also buy this. It's called la leche, dulce de leche, in the Mexican aisle at grocery stores. So what we're going to do is we're going to slice our apples. How's that looking?
The massacred apples.
The massacred apples. No, they look good. You did well. Uh-oh. We call them the runaway apples. They keep wanting to get away from me.
Because I've hurt them.
I am determined I'm going to go apple picking. I still haven't, but
Oh, it's so much fun.
I haven't had time. The great thing about apples is once you have them, you can do so many different things with them.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so we're going to slice this thinly. And what I did is I went ahead and I pre-made my dough for the crostata. And a crostata is just a rough, rustic tart. There we go. And what it is it's 1 cup of flour, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt, 1.5 sticks of butter, and 3 to 4 cool tablespoons of water. We'll give this a little stir. Our apples right here. And I am going to actually add just a little bit more brown sugar because it's going to help that caramelize really nicely. Okay? And I'll set that out of the way. So what you do is you put all of those ingredients, the flour, the butter, the salt and sugar, and the water, cold tablespoons of water into the blender. And you just go pulse, pulse, pulse. And then once that forms into a ball, then you're ready to go. And I'm actually going to make this a little smaller. Oh, there we go. Sandy, that can go into the oven, and I have my oven preheated at 350. So we're going to get a little bit of flour on the board. Make sure it doesn't stick. And will you hand me that pan over there, if you don't mind? And then you can just kind of keep an eye on the apples. Right
Okay.
here. Just kind of give it a nice little stir.
Okay.
And what we want that to do is we want that to reduce just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So once you've got your dough and your floured surface, we'll flour my rolling pin a little bit. We're going to roll this out. It's a little cold. Because what you want to do is once you get it out of the blender, you want to wrap it in saran wrap, and you want to pop that into the refrigerator for about an hour to chill, sometimes a little longer. How's that looking?
Fine, I just lowered it a little.
It smells delicious. Okay, so she just lowered it to what temperature?
It's on number 8.
You can actually lower it to medium.
Okay.
So the great thing about this dough is you can actually freeze it as well and use it later. It's a little tough to roll out because it was in the refrigerator. So you just want to kind of roll it into a circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. And then you're going to grab, oh, that smells delicious. Then you are going to grab a little bit of caramel. And Sandy, you can actually turn that off.
Salsa.
And you can come help me with this if you want.
Do you need this over there?
No, we'll just take it off of the stovetop. And we're going to use that for, as soon as the cheesecakes come out, we're going to top it with that. So what we want to do is we want to just kind of do the little caramel around. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to start layering our apples. So what we want to do is just kind of layer it like so. You want to do that?
Okay, sure.
Okay. Let me move this out of the way first. We'll use that in a second. Let me wash my hands. Okay. So, and then the last recipe that we're going to do is we're going to do apple dumplings. Now, this is probably my favorite because you get to eat ice cream with it. Now, I don't have any ice cream because Sandy and I are on a diet.
Speak for yourself.
All right, so what
cream.
you want to do is you want to drizzle a little bit of powdered sugar, once again, on your surface. And you can actually, let me move this out of the way. You can actually make your own puff pastry, or you could just go to the store and buy some puff pastry. That's probably the easiest to do. Because making puff pastry is such a process. You have to fold the butter, and it's just, you know.
It's easier if you could just buy it like that.
Yes. Sand, and then we're going to do one more layer in the middle, like that right there. Yeah, so it's just easier to buy it. Like that right there. We're going to let that hang out for just a second. Now, this is the fun part. If you want a big piece of dessert, what you can do is you can get a smaller piece of apple. See how much smaller this is? And by the way, these are Empire State apples, but I love Fuji apples. You can use Macintosh, whatever you want to use. If you use Granny Smith, they're a little bit more tart. So, and let me, before I talk about the apples, let me quickly say, we're going to sprinkle some cinnamon and a little bit of sugar and some nutmeg. You can use apple spice if you want. And then what we're going to do is we're going to roughly fold the edges over like this, just kind of layering it. So if you want to do that until you get to the end. So back to the dumplings. If you want to make full dumplings, what you can do is you can peel and core your apple and just use that, fold the whole thing in puff pastry once you have the sugar on there. If you don't, then you can use a regular apple, or in this case, this one right here. That is beautiful. And then you can cut it in smaller pieces and then wrap it in the puff pastry. So I'm gonna move this. We can transfer that to this. And then the last little touch that we're gonna do, anytime you work with dough, what you wanna do is you wanna make sure you do an egg wash, which is just 1 egg and a teaspoon of water. And we're just gonna whisk it a little bit. And what this is going to give you, it's going to give you a beautiful golden crust. And then, so we're going to transfer this to the cookie sheet. And then, Sand, I'm going to move this out of the way. If you'll egg wash that for me, then that would be great. Here's a puff pastry. There we go. So she's just going to beautifully egg wash that. And while she's doing that, I'm going to cut my apple into a little bit of a smaller piece. Because the great thing about this is this is a great little midnight snack. Or if you're having a bunch of people over and you don't want to give each one of them a full apple for dessert, these are great little snacks because you don't have to have ice cream with them. So what you want to do, just grab this. You want to get your small little apple pieces, and you're going to grab some sugar. And some Sandy, that can go in the oven, once again, at 350. And we can check the cheese. The cheesecakes are still doing well. The cheesecakes are probably going to bake for between 10 and 15 minutes. Okay? They can still go a little bit. So we're going to add some cinnamon to our sugar. Sugar. It's like, are we doing sugar or salt? A little bit of ginger. And you guys notice that I'm layering a lot of flavors. The ginger, the cloves, the nutmeg, because that's the time of the season we're in. Some cloves. We'll add dash more of cinnamon. And what we want to do now, and you can do this about 2 hours before time if you want your apples to get really nice and soaky. You're just going to get your apple pieces in there. Am I making a mess?
No, I just cleaned up the core.
Thank you. You're going to get your apples in there. Probably should have used a bigger bowl, but it's okay. You just want to drizzle that. Now, the longer your apple is going to sit in the sugar, the more soggy it's going to become on the outside. But it's okay because all it means is that apple is getting all those flavors in there. And so what we want to do here, Sand, will you hand me that other cookie sheet, please? Thank you. So what we want to do is once you have your apples soaked in the sugar, then you're going to place them on your puff pastry sheet. And if you don't have time to let your apples soak a little bit, what you can do is you can sprinkle a little bit more of the sugar on top. I love when my kitchen smells like cinnamon.
That just looks good like that, not even cooked.
Not even cooked.
With the cinnamon and sugar on the apple.
Exactly. So you want to get your puff pastry, and we're just going to wrap it into a bundle. So you bring the edges together, and remember this is going to stretch a little bit. So you bring it together like so, and then what I do is I usually flip it because that way it's going to make sure that your puff pastry doesn't go anywhere. And we'll get that onto a greased cookie sheet, and then you can start egg washing that. Yes. That way we make sure it's almost like a little bundle. It's so cute. Now, what you can do that also makes this a lot of fun is if you get a little cookie cutter that's leaves or pumpkins or whatever, you can cut little pieces out of your puff pastry, and then you can top your whole little bundle with that little leaf or pumpkin or whatever. And here's the last one. You know what? From now on, if anybody needs to egg wash, this is your girl.
I'm your girl.
That's beautiful. Let me wash my hands. Okay, so then that's also going to go into the oven at 350, and those are probably going to go for about 30 to 35 minutes. So while we're doing that, let's clean up right quick so that we can mix our... Is there any room?
Can that go underneath?
Yes, that can go underneath, yes. So that we can get to the good part. Okay, so now, actually let me just wipe that off too. Sandy, if you'll give us our spiced cider. All right. So this is a great cold night cocktail. So what you want to do is you want to grab a little bit of the brandy. You can just set it right there. That's fine. A little bit of the brandy. Now you notice when I use my liquor for the first time, I dump it like this. There's a good reason why. All the alcohol tends to settle at the bottom. I did not know this. This is a trick my uncle that used to make moonshine. This is a trick he taught me. So what you want to do, if you can test this at home. If you have a liquor bottle, you can knock it like this. Once you do it like this, it sounds different if you knock it. So anyways, just a quick little tip. So you want to get a little bit of the brandy right here, and then we're going to I'm going to show you the first one, and then you can come do the other one if you want. So what you want to do then is you want to just get that top little part of the glass into the brandy, and then you have some cinnamon sugar in another plate. There we go. And then you're just going to coat it.
Oh,
look how beautiful.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. So while she's doing that, now you can mix this in another bowl. Oh, and by the way, this recipe, my mother actually enjoys this cold. She does not like it heated up. So you can also serve this cold, spike it ahead of time, get it in the refrigerator, and by the time your friends get here, you are ready to rock and roll. So we're going to add a few shots of brandy to our, a little bit more. What do you think?
The cats and I will just lick this later.
That was a lot. We're going to lick that.
That's for the cat and I. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to give that a quick little stir. What I did, here we go. And then we're actually going to pour that into a cup. It's going to make it easier to pour. Alrighty. Let's make a mess here first before we make a mess in the glass, right?
Oh, look at that. No,
All
did
right,
fine.
There we go. And then we're going to pour these. Still making a mess.
Dribbled.
And I mean, look at that. Is that not beautiful? Look at it.
Smells so good too.
Smells delicious. And so while we're enjoying our cocktail, and you can finish this off with a little thing of cinnamon on the side, or you can get it straight into the cup. Just warn your guests it's in there. So while you're gonna cheers, I am gonna check. I'm gonna check on the ingredients.
Cheers. Looks
in
delicious.
the oven. Wow, that's amazing.
Oh, that's really, really good.
We're gonna check on these. So basically, I am just topping the little cheesecakes a few minutes before they're done with the beautiful caramel apples that we made. Ooh, and that smells and looks delicious. Here, we'll do the rest in a little bit. And everything else has cooked and are beautiful. Sandy, where's that? Oh, here it is. Sandy and I are enjoying our cocktails. There's nothing better, let me tell you. If you and your girlfriends want to get together and bake some goodies, some apples, use up all those apples you used for cooking. We have got our caramel apple crostata. We've got our apple dumplings that will be perfect with ice cream. And now we have our beautiful little mini cheesecakes that was topped with the caramel apples that we made. You guys, these recipes and much more are on my website at livinglinkie.com. Sandy, thank you for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure.
I can't wait to dig into this. You?
Oh, I am.
Follow me on Twitter and Facebook for all of my adventures. And until next time, stay hungry.